The morning sun cast long shadows across the training ground as Elena Volkov adjusted her worn military jacket and walked toward the shooting range. The year was 1942, and the Great Patriotic War had already claimed millions of Soviet lives. At 19, Elena possessed an unusual combination of steady nerves and exceptional eyesight that would soon make her a legend, though she didn't know it yet. The Stalingrad front had become a meat grinder, consuming soldiers faster than the Red Army could replace them. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and the Soviet leadership had begun recruiting women into combat roles previously reserved for men. Elena had volunteered not out of patriotic fervor, but because her village had been burned to the ground by advancing German forces, taking her family with it. Captain Dmitry Kozlov watched through his binoculars as another recruit missed the target completely. The 284th Rifle Division had been ordered to establish a sniper unit, but finding suitable candidates proved more challenging than anticipated. Most of his men could barely hit a barn door at 50 meters, let alone pick off enemy soldiers at distances exceeding 400 meters. Next, Kozlov shouted, his voice carrying across the range with military authority. Elena stepped forward, ignoring the snickers from male recruits who had been waiting their turn. She had grown accustomed to their skepticism during her 3 weeks of basic training. Standing barely 5 feet tall with auburn hair pulled back in a practical bun, she hardly looked like warrior material. Her hands, calloused from years of farm work, wrapped around the Mosin Nagant rifle with surprising familiarity. The weapon felt heavier than the hunting rifle she had used as a child, but the basic principles remained the same. Her father, a former Imperial Army marksman, had taught her to shoot rabbits and deer in the forests surrounding their village. Those lessons, delivered during quiet winter evenings, had seemed like simple father-daughter bonding at the time. Now they might mean the difference between life and death. Kozlov positioned himself behind Elena, expecting another disappointing performance. The target stood 300 meters away, a standard military silhouette painted on weathered plywood. Wind conditions were moderate, with a slight crosswind that would challenge even experienced shooters. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the rhythm of her breathing. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. The rifle is an extension of yourself. Feel the wind, understand the distance, and let your instincts guide the bullet. She opened her eyes, raised the weapon, and peered through the iron sights. The world seemed to slow down as Elena found her natural shooting stance. Her left elbow rested firmly on the ground, providing a stable platform. Her right hand gripped the stock while her cheek pressed against the cold wood. The crosswind required a slight adjustment to the left, accounting for bullet drift over the extended distance. The trigger pull was smooth and deliberate. The rifle's report echoed across the training ground, followed by absolute silence as everyone strained to see the result. Through his binoculars, Kozlov's eyes widened in disbelief. The bullet had struck dead center in the target's head region. "Lucky shot," muttered Sergeant Petrov, the unit's senior instructor. Elena said nothing, simply worked the bolt to chamber another round. The second shot struck within inches of the first. Then, the third, fourth, and fifth, each bullet finding its mark with mechanical precision. By the 10th consecutive hit, the entire range had fallen silent except for the rhythmic crack of Elena's rifle. Captain Kozlov lowered his binoculars and studied the young woman before him. Her breathing remained steady, her hands showed no tremor, and her eyes held a focus that seemed almost supernatural. In 20 years of military service, he had never witnessed such natural shooting ability. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" Kozlov asked when Elena finally set down the rifle. "My father taught me," she replied simply. "We hunted for food, not sport." Missing meant going hungry. The implications of Elena's performance rippled through the division's command structure within hours. General Chukov himself had issued orders to identify and train the most promising sniper candidates. The siege of Stalingrad was entering its most critical phase, and accurate long-range fire could tip the balance in crucial sectors. Elena found herself transferred to a specialized training unit commanded by Major Zaitsev, a veteran sniper with 47 confirmed kills. The major had initially been skeptical about training women for such dangerous work, but Elena's test scores changed his perspective dramatically. The advanced training proved far more demanding than basic rifle instruction. Elena learned about wind calculation, range estimation, camouflage techniques, and fieldcraft. She studied German uniforms and equipment, memorizing the silhouettes of officers, machine gunners, and artillery spotters. Most importantly, she learned patience. Sniping is not about heroic charges or dramatic gestures, Major Zaitsev explained during one of his lectures. It is about waiting, watching, and taking one perfect shot when the opportunity presents itself. A good sniper can disrupt an entire enemy company with just a few well-placed bullets. Elena absorbed these lessons with the intensity of someone whose survival depended on mastering every detail. She practiced for hours each day, shooting at targets placed at varying distances under different weather conditions. Her accuracy remained consistently exceptional, but accuracy alone would not guarantee success in combat. The psychological aspects of sniping presented the greatest challenge. Elena had killed animals for food, but taking human life required a different kind of mental preparation. Major Zaitsev spoke frankly about the emotional toll of his work, describing the weight that accumulated with each enemy soldier eliminated. "You must understand," he told Elena during a private conversation, "that hesitation will get you killed. When you see an enemy soldier through your scope, you cannot think of him as someone's son or husband. He is a target, nothing more. Your job is to eliminate him before he can harm your comrades." Elena nodded, though she wondered if she could truly follow such advice when the moment arrived. The theoretical discussions seemed abstract compared to the reality she would soon face in Stalingrad's ruins. News from the front grew increasingly desperate. German forces had penetrated deep into the city, controlling roughly 90% of Stalingrad's territory. Soviet defenders held narrow strips along the Volga River, sometimes fighting for individual buildings room by room. Ammunition and supplies had to be ferried across the river under constant enemy fire. The sniper unit received orders to deploy to the grain elevator sector, where German observation posts were directing devastating artillery strikes against Soviet positions. Elena's first combat assignment involved eliminating enemy spotters who had been particularly effective at calling in accurate fire missions. Major Zaitsev assigned Elena to work with Sergeant Viktor Reznov, an experienced spotter who had survived 3 months of urban combat. Reznov had initially protested being paired with an untested female recruit, but his objections were overruled by higher command. "Listen carefully," Reznov told Elena as they prepared their equipment. "Combat is nothing like training. The enemy shoots back, buildings collapse around you, and good people die for stupid reasons. Your fancy shooting means nothing if you cannot stay alive long enough to use it." Elena checked her rifle for the 100th time, ensuring every component functioned properly. The Mosin Nagant had been customized with a telescopic sight, improving her ability to engage targets at extended ranges. She carried 60 rounds of carefully selected ammunition, each bullet potentially representing a saved Soviet life. The journey to their assigned position required navigating through Stalingrad's devastated landscape. Buildings had been reduced to skeletal frameworks, their walls blown away by artillery and aerial bombardment. Rubble filled the streets, creating a maze of passages that changed daily as new explosions rearranged the debris. Elena followed Reznov through this urban wasteland, stepping carefully to avoid making noise that might attract enemy attention. German patrols moved through the ruins constantly, searching for Soviet positions and survivors. A single misstep could result in immediate discovery and death. Their destination was the remains of a factory building that offered good lines of sight toward known German positions. Reznov had scouted this location previously, identifying concealed firing positions and escape routes. The building's upper floors had been partially destroyed, but enough structure remained to provide cover and elevation. Elena settled into her chosen position, a gap between concrete blocks that offered protection while allowing her to observe enemy territory. Through her telescopic sight, she could see German soldiers moving among the ruins approximately 400 meters away. Some were obviously officers, identifiable by their distinctive uniforms and behavior patterns. "There," Reznov whispered, pointing toward a partially collapsed church. "German observation post. They have been directing artillery strikes from that bell tower for the past week. See the antenna?" Elena adjusted her scope's focus until she could clearly observe the target area. 2 German soldiers were visible in the tower, one operating a radio, while the other used binoculars to scan Soviet positions. Eliminating them would provide immediate tactical benefits by disrupting enemy fire coordination. The range was approximately 350 meters, well within Elena's demonstrated capabilities. Wind conditions appeared favorable, with only light air movement that would have minimal effect on bullet trajectory. The targets remained relatively stationary, focused on their observation duties rather than watching for threats. Elena steadied her rifle and acquired the first target through her scope. The German radio man sat at a small table, speaking into his microphone while consulting a map. He presented a clear profile shot, ideal for ensuring a clean kill. Elena's crosshairs settled on the center of his torso, compensating slightly for the minimal wind drift. Her breathing slowed as she prepared to take her first human life. The training had covered this moment extensively, but reality felt different than she had anticipated. The German soldier looked young, perhaps no older than herself. For a brief instant, Elena wondered about his family and his life before the war. Then, she remembered the burning village, her family's graves, and the desperate situation faced by her comrades in Stalingrad. The enemy soldier represented not just a military target, but a symbol of the forces that had destroyed everything she had once held dear. Elena's fingers squeezed the trigger with practiced smoothness. The rifle's report seemed unusually loud in the confines of their hiding place. Through her scope, she watched the German radio man slump forward onto his equipment, eliminated by a single shot to the chest. The second German soldier reacted quickly, spinning toward the sound of the gunshot while reaching for his own weapon. But Elena had already worked her bolt and acquired her next target. The second shot followed less than 3 seconds after the first, striking the observer in the head as he attempted to take cover. "Excellent shooting," Reznov whispered with genuine admiration. "2 shots, 2 kills. The artillery spotting from this position is finished." Elena felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness as she watched the German observation post fall silent. She had performed exactly as trained, eliminating 2 enemy soldiers with clinical precision. Yet the reality of taking human life left her feeling different than she had expected. The immediate tactical results were obvious within minutes. German artillery fire, which had been consistently accurate throughout the morning, became sporadic and poorly aimed. Soviet defenders in the targeted sector reported a significant reduction in incoming rounds, allowing them to strengthen their positions and tend to wounded comrades. Word of Elena's successful engagement spread quickly through the division's command structure. Captain Kozlov received reports describing the elimination of the German observation post and immediately requested confirmation of the sniper responsible. When told that the new recruit had achieved both kills with her first combat shots, he could hardly believe the reports. Major Zaitsev arrived at Elena's position that evening to personally debrief her performance. He had worked with dozens of snipers during his career, but few had demonstrated such composure during their initial combat experience. Elena's description of the engagement revealed sound tactical thinking and emotional control that typically took months to develop. "How do you feel about today's work?" Zaitsev asked Elena as they cleaned weapons in their temporary shelter. Elena considered the question carefully before responding. "I feel sad that such things are necessary," she said finally. "But I also feel proud that I could help protect our soldiers. Those Germans would have continued calling artillery strikes that killed our people." Zaitsev nodded approvingly. Elena's response demonstrated the kind of balanced perspective that distinguished professional snipers from simple killers. She understood the moral weight of her actions while maintaining focus on the military necessity that justified them. The next morning brought new orders and greater responsibilities. Elena's unit received intelligence about German sniper teams that had been eliminating Soviet officers and key personnel. Counter-sniper operations required even greater skill and patience, as the enemy possessed training and equipment comparable to their own. Elena studied the intelligence reports describing German sniper tactics and equipment. The enemy often worked in pairs, with one sniper engaging targets while the other provided security and spotting assistance. They favored concealed positions with multiple escape routes, making them difficult to locate and eliminate. The psychological pressure of facing enemy snipers affected even experienced soldiers. Knowing that skilled marksmen were actively hunting for targets created constant tension and forced everyone to modify their behavior patterns. Officers avoided exposing themselves unnecessarily, communications were reduced to essential messages, and movement between positions became carefully choreographed to minimize exposure. Elena felt the weight of expectations as her reputation began to spread. Other soldiers looked to her for protection against enemy snipers, hoping that her proven accuracy would keep them safe. This responsibility motivated her to train even harder, spending additional hours practicing her craft whenever circumstances permitted. The war was just beginning to reveal the full extent of Elena's extraordinary abilities. Her natural talent, combined with rigorous training and combat experience, was forging a sniper whose legend would soon spread far beyond the ruins of Stalingrad. The third week of Elena's deployment brought intelligence that would test her skills against the most dangerous opponents imaginable. German sniper teams had arrived in Stalingrad, elite marksmen from the Wehrmacht's best units. These were not ordinary soldiers, but specialists trained at the Reich's premier sniper schools, equipped with sophisticated optics and years of combat experience. Senior Lieutenant Kozlov briefed Elena and her spotter team in the basement of a destroyed pharmacy. Maps covered in red markings showed locations where Soviet officers had been eliminated by enemy snipers over the past 5 days. The pattern revealed methodical, professional work that had cost the Red Army some of its most experienced leaders. They are systematically targeting our command structure, Kozlov explained, pointing to the marked positions. Captain Volkov was killed yesterday while inspecting forward positions. Major Petrov was eliminated 3 days ago during a reconnaissance mission. We need to stop these killers before they decapitate our entire leadership. Elena studied the map with growing understanding of the challenge ahead. The German snipers had chosen their hunting grounds carefully, establishing killing zones that covered key movement routes and observation points. They possessed intimate knowledge of urban warfare tactics and had adapted quickly to Stalingrad's unique terrain. Sergeant Reznov had gathered additional intelligence through conversations with survivors of the German sniper attacks. The enemy marksmen demonstrated exceptional patience, sometimes waiting hours for a single-shot opportunity. They showed no hesitation in engaging targets at extreme ranges, suggesting confidence in both their equipment and abilities. One witness described seeing a muzzle flash from approximately 600 meters, Reznov reported. The shot killed a communications officer who was passing a message between positions. At that range, in these conditions, only a master marksman could achieve such accuracy. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she contemplated facing opponents of such caliber. Her training had prepared her for this moment, but theory differed significantly from the reality of hunting humans who possessed skills equal to her own. The psychological pressure would be intense, knowing that any mistake might result in her own death. The counter-sniper mission required different tactics than those used against ordinary enemy soldiers. Elena would need to think like her opponents, anticipating their movements and identifying their preferred positions. Success would depend more on fieldcraft and tactical intelligence than pure marksmanship. Major Zaitsev arrived that evening with specialized equipment and updated orders. Elena received a modified rifle equipped with a higher quality scope, allowing for more precise target acquisition at extended ranges. The ammunition was match-grade, manufactured to tighter tolerances than standard military rounds. This weapon belonged to Sergeant Kulikov, Zaitsev explained as Elena examined her new rifle. He achieved 31 confirmed kills before a German sniper eliminated him last month. Perhaps his rifle will bring you better fortune. The weight of carrying a dead comrade's weapon affected Elena more than she had anticipated. She could see marks where Kulikov's hands had gripped the stock, evidence of countless hours spent in training and combat. His legacy would live on through her work, but only if she proved worthy of his sacrifice. Elena spent the remainder of the evening zeroing her new rifle and familiarizing herself with its characteristics. Each weapon possessed unique quirks that could affect accuracy, and understanding these details might mean the difference between success and failure. The scope's optics were significantly superior to her previous equipment, providing clearer target resolution at long ranges. The next morning brought Elena's first opportunity to test her skills against a German sniper team. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy marksmen were operating from the ruins of a textile factory, approximately 800 meters from Soviet positions. They had eliminated 2 Soviet scouts who attempted to gather information about German defensive preparations. Elena and Reznov began their approach before dawn, moving through the devastated cityscape under cover of darkness. The route required careful navigation around known enemy positions and areas that might be under observation. Each step was planned to minimize noise and avoid detection by German patrols. The factory district had been heavily bombed, leaving massive concrete ruins that created both opportunities and dangers for snipers. Collapsed buildings provided excellent concealment, but also offered hiding places for enemy soldiers. The terrain channeled movement through predictable routes, creating natural killing zones. Elena chose her position in the remains of an office building that offered multiple lines of sight toward the textile factory. The location provided good cover while allowing flexibility to engage targets from different angles. Most importantly, it offered several escape routes if their position was compromised. Through her telescopic sight, Elena began the painstaking process of searching for signs of enemy snipers. German marksmen were masters of camouflage, capable of remaining invisible even under close observation. Finding them would require patience and acute attention to details that might reveal their presence. The morning passed slowly as Elena systematically examined every potential hiding place within the factory complex. Reznov used binoculars to scan adjacent areas, watching for movement or other indicators that might suggest enemy activity. The work demanded absolute concentration and steady nerves. At approximately 10:30, Elena noticed something unusual in the factory's third-floor windows. A slight reflection, barely visible among the shadows, suggested the presence of optical equipment. She focused her scope on the area and waited for additional confirmation. Movement, Reznov whispered after several minutes of observation. Third floor, fourth window from the left. I saw fabric shifting, possibly a camouflage position. Elena adjusted her scope's focus until she could clearly observe the suspect window. The interior was dark, but careful examination revealed subtle differences in the shadows that might indicate human presence. German snipers often used natural camouflage materials to break up their silhouettes. For nearly an hour, Elena maintained observation of the suspect position without detecting further movement. The Germans were demonstrating the same patience that had made them so effective against previous Soviet targets. This would become a contest of wills as much as marksmanship skills. At 11:45, Elena's patience was rewarded. A Soviet messenger emerged from a communications bunker approximately 400 meters from Elena's position. The soldier moved cautiously but followed a predictable route between protected areas. Within seconds, Elena detected movement in the factory window as the German sniper prepared to engage. The enemy rifle's muzzle became visible as the German marksman acquired his target. Elena could see enough detail through her scope to identify the weapon as a Karabiner 98K equipped with a Zeiss telescopic sight. The German sniper was adjusting his position to obtain a clear shot at the moving messenger. Elena faced a critical decision. She could attempt to eliminate the German sniper before he fired, but the shot would be extremely difficult given the range and angle. Alternatively, she could try to warn the messenger, though doing so might compromise her own position. The Soviet soldier remained unaware of the danger closing around him. Elena chose to trust her training and marksmanship abilities. She settled into a solid shooting position and acquired the German sniper through her scope. The range was approximately 750 meters, near the effective limit of her rifle's accuracy. Wind conditions were moderate but variable, requiring careful compensation for bullet drift. The target presented a difficult shot even under ideal circumstances. Only the German sniper's head and shoulders were visible through the factory window, and those were partially concealed by camouflage materials. Elena would need to place her bullet precisely to ensure immediate incapacitation. Elena controlled her breathing and allowed her natural rhythm to guide the shot timing. The crosshairs settled on the center of the target's head, accounting for wind drift and bullet drop at the extended range. Her finger applied steady pressure to the trigger as she prepared to take the most important shot of her military career. The rifle's report seemed to echo forever across the ruined factory district. Elena immediately worked the bolt to chamber another round while maintaining observation through her scope. The German sniper's position showed no movement, suggesting that her bullet had found its target. Confirmation came seconds later when a second German soldier appeared at the factory window, obviously attempting to assist his fallen comrade. Elena's second shot caught him as he exposed himself to check on the sniper's condition. The counter-sniper mission had eliminated an entire enemy team with 2 precisely placed rounds. Outstanding shooting, Reznov said with genuine admiration. 750 meters in these conditions, against concealed targets. I have never seen such marksmanship. Elena felt a surge of professional satisfaction as she watched the factory window remain motionless. She had proven herself capable of defeating Germany's best snipers using superior skill and tactical thinking. The messenger had completed his mission without ever knowing how close he had come to death. News of Elena's success spread rapidly through the division's command structure. General Chukov himself requested a detailed report of the engagement, expressing particular interest in Elena's tactical approach and marksmanship techniques. The elimination of experienced German snipers provided both practical and morale benefits for Soviet forces. Captain Kozlov visited Elena's position that afternoon to personally congratulate her on the successful mission. He brought new orders that would expand her responsibilities and increase the scope of her operations. Elena was being reassigned to work directly with divisional intelligence, hunting the most dangerous enemy marksmen operating in the Stalingrad sector. "You have proven yourself capable of extraordinary work," Kozlov told Elena as they discussed her new assignment. "The High Command has taken notice of your abilities and wants to maximize their effectiveness. You will receive the best equipment and intelligence support available." Elena accepted the additional responsibility with characteristic determination. She understood that her success brought increased expectations and more dangerous missions. German commanders would eventually learn of her activities and take steps to eliminate the threat she represented to their sniper teams. The psychological warfare aspect of counter-sniper operations extended far beyond simple target elimination. Knowledge that a skilled enemy marksman was hunting German snipers would affect their confidence and effectiveness. They might become more cautious, reducing their operational tempo and limiting their impact on Soviet forces. Elena received upgraded equipment that evening, including a captured German rifle with superior optics and more accurate ammunition. Intelligence officers briefed her on known enemy sniper teams and their operational patterns. The information had been gathered through intercepted communications, prisoner interrogations, and battlefield observations. "This rifle belonged to Hauptmann Schultz," the intelligence officer explained as Elena examined the weapon. "He achieved 43 confirmed kills before Soviet artillery eliminated his position last week. The rifle has been modified with our best available scope." Elena appreciated the irony of using a dead German's weapon to hunt his former comrades. The Karabiner 98K was indeed superior to her previous rifle in several respects, particularly regarding accuracy at extended ranges. The German scope provided clearer target resolution and more precise adjustments for range and windage. Testing the new equipment would have to wait until the next mission, as Elena received orders to relocate immediately. German counter-battery fire had begun targeting the area around her previous position, suggesting that her activities had been detected. Staying mobile would be essential for continued survival and effectiveness. Elena and Reznov moved through Stalingrad's ruins under cover of darkness, carrying their equipment and ammunition to a new operational area. The city's landscape changed daily as artillery and aerial bombardment rearranged the rubble and created new passages through the devastation. Their new position was located in the remains of a school building that had been partially destroyed by bombing. The location offered excellent observation of German-held territory while providing multiple concealment options and escape routes. More importantly, intelligence suggested that enemy snipers were operating in the immediate area. Elena settled into her new hide just before dawn, arranging camouflage materials to break up her silhouette while maintaining clear fields of fire. The German rifle felt different than her previous weapon, but the basic principles remained the same. Accuracy depended more on skill and practice than equipment specifications. The morning brought reports of increased German sniper activity in adjacent sectors. Enemy marksmen had eliminated 3 Soviet soldiers during the night, including a junior officer who had been coordinating defensive preparations. The kills demonstrated the same professional precision that characterized the best German sniper teams. Elena began her systematic search for enemy positions, using the intelligence reports to focus on areas where German snipers might establish effective firing positions. The work required infinite patience and absolute attention to detail, as enemy marksmen were masters of concealment and camouflage. By midday, Elena had identified 2 possible sniper positions based on subtle indicators and tactical analysis. Both locations offered the angles and ranges necessary to achieve the kills described in intelligence reports. Determining which position was actually occupied would require additional observation and possibly movement to obtain better vantage points. The afternoon brought Elena's first opportunity to test her new rifle against a confirmed enemy target. A German sniper exposed himself briefly while adjusting his position, apparently unaware that he was under observation. The range was approximately 600 meters, well within Elena's demonstrated capabilities. Elena's shot struck the enemy sniper center mass, eliminating him instantly. The German fell forward into view, confirming both the kill and the location of his hide. Elena immediately shifted her position to guard against possible retaliation from other enemy snipers who might be operating in the area. The successful engagement marked Elena's 5th confirmed kill in less than 2 weeks of combat operations. Her reputation was spreading throughout the Red Army as reports of her marksmanship circulated among Soviet units. More importantly, German forces were beginning to recognize that they faced an unusually skilled opponent who posed a serious threat to their sniper operations. Elena's legend was growing, but the most dangerous challenges still lay ahead. German commanders would soon take special measures to eliminate the Soviet sniper who had proven so effective against their elite marksmen. Major Heinrich Steinberg studied the casualty reports from his command bunker with growing concern. In 3 weeks, the Wehrmacht had lost 8 experienced snipers in the Stalingrad sector, all killed by precise long-range shots that demonstrated exceptional marksmanship. Intelligence suggested that a single Soviet sniper was responsible for the majority of these eliminations. The pattern is unmistakable, reported Captain Weber, Steinberg's intelligence officer. Each kill shows identical characteristics: single shot, extreme accuracy, and tactical positioning that suggests advanced training. We are dealing with a master marksman, possibly trained by Soviet special forces. Steinberg had commanded sniper units on the Eastern Front for 18 months, witnessing the evolution of Soviet marksmanship from amateur enthusiasm to professional competence. But the current situation represented something entirely new: a single enemy sniper whose abilities exceeded those of Germany's best-trained specialists. The psychological impact on German sniper teams was becoming problematic. Reports indicated increased caution and reduced operational tempo as marksmen worried about being hunted by their invisible opponent. Some veteran snipers had requested transfers to other sectors, claiming that continued operations in Stalingrad had become too dangerous. Steinberg reached a decision that would escalate the deadly game to unprecedented levels. He dispatched a request to Wehrmacht headquarters for immediate deployment of Oberleutnant Klaus Richter, one of Germany's most accomplished snipers. Richter's service record included 73 confirmed kills on the Eastern Front and specialized training in counter-sniper operations. Elena remained unaware of these developments as she prepared for another hunting expedition in Stalingrad's ruins. Her confirmed kill count had reached 14, including 9 enemy snipers whose elimination had significantly reduced German effectiveness in her operational sector. Soviet commanders were increasingly relying on her abilities to maintain tactical balance against superior German forces. The constant pressure of combat was beginning to affect Elena despite her professional success. She slept poorly, haunted by images of the men she had killed through her telescopic sight. Each face remained vivid in her memory, a gallery of enemies who had become personal in the moments before death. Sergeant Reznov had noticed the changes in Elena's behavior and attempted to provide support through shared experiences. He had been fighting in Stalingrad for 4 months, witnessing horrors that would affect him for the remainder of his life. His survival depended partly on emotional detachment, a lesson he tried to share with his sniper partner. You cannot allow them to become human in your mind, Reznov advised during one of their conversations. The moment you begin thinking about their families or their lives before the war, you lose the edge that keeps you alive. They are targets, nothing more. Elena understood the logic behind Reznov's advice, but implementing it proved more difficult than anticipated. Her exceptional eyesight allowed her to see details that other snipers might miss: facial expressions, personal equipment, sometimes even photographs carried by her targets. These glimpses of humanity complicated the psychological process of killing. The arrival of Klaus Richter in Stalingrad marked the beginning of a new phase in Elena's war. German intelligence had identified the general area of her operations and deployed their most skilled marksmen to eliminate the threat she represented. Richter brought specialized equipment and techniques developed specifically for hunting enemy snipers. Richter's first action was to analyze the locations where German snipers had been killed, searching for patterns that might reveal his opponent's tactics and preferred positions. He possessed enough experience to recognize professional work when he encountered it, and the evidence suggested that he faced an opponent of exceptional ability. Whoever this is knows their craft, Richter told Major Steinberg during their initial briefing. The shot placement is consistently excellent, and the tactical positioning shows advanced understanding of urban warfare. This will not be easy. Elena received intelligence about increased German sniper activity in her sector, but remained unaware that she had become the specific target of enemy operations. Soviet intelligence systems were not sophisticated enough to track individual enemy specialists, and the information reaching Elena focused on general tactical developments rather than personal threats. The new phase of operations began when Elena established a hide in the ruins of a department store that offered excellent observation of German supply routes. Intelligence reports suggested that enemy snipers were targeting Soviet soldiers who attempted to disrupt these logistics operations. Elena's mission was to eliminate the German marksmen before they could inflict significant casualties. Elena's position provided multiple firing lanes while offering good concealment and several escape routes. The store's upper floors had been partially destroyed by bombing, creating gaps in the walls that served as natural firing ports. Rubble and debris provided additional camouflage materials to break up her silhouette. Richter was simultaneously establishing his own position approximately 1 kilometer away, using German-controlled territory to set up a comprehensive observation system. He employed multiple spotters and communication networks to coordinate intelligence gathering across his entire operational area. The German approach emphasized systematic methodology over individual heroics. For 2 days, Elena and Richter hunted in the same sector without detecting each other's presence. Both were masters of concealment who understood the importance of patience in sniper operations. The deadly game had begun, though neither participant yet realized they were engaged in personal combat. Elena's first indication that something had changed came when she observed unusual activity in German positions. Enemy soldiers were moving with greater caution than normal, and their patrol patterns had been modified to reduce exposure to sniper fire. These adjustments suggested that German commanders were taking special precautions against marksman attacks. On the morning of the 3rd day, Elena detected movement in a partially collapsed apartment building approximately 600 meters from her position. Through her telescopic sight, she could see what appeared to be a concealed firing position with someone manning observation equipment. The tactical setup suggested another sniper rather than ordinary infantry. Elena spent nearly an hour studying the suspect position before confirming the presence of an enemy marksman. The German was using excellent camouflage techniques, but careful observation revealed subtle movements that betrayed human presence. More importantly, the position offered ideal lines of sight for engaging Soviet targets in Elena's operational area. The range and angle presented a challenging shot, even by Elena's standards. The German sniper was positioned behind substantial cover with only small portions of his body visible through gaps in the rubble. Elena would need to wait for the enemy to expose himself further or attempt an extremely difficult shot at a minimal target. Elena's patience was rewarded when the German sniper shifted position to obtain a better view of Soviet territory. The movement exposed his head and shoulders for approximately 3 seconds, providing Elena with the opportunity she needed. Her shot struck the enemy marksman in the head, eliminating him instantly. Unknown to Elena, she had just killed one of Richter's spotters. The German master sniper was positioned in a different building, using multiple observation posts to coordinate his hunt for the Soviet marksman who had been eliminating his comrades. Elena's successful shot had been observed through Richter's scope, providing him with crucial information about her location. Richter immediately began planning his response to Elena's attack. He had witnessed the muzzle flash from her position and estimated the range at approximately 600 meters. The shot placement on his spotter demonstrated exceptional accuracy and suggested that he faced an opponent worthy of his full attention. Elena remained in her position for another hour, watching for signs of enemy reaction to her shot. The German positions showed no obvious response, suggesting that her attack had not been detected or that enemy forces were being deliberately cautious. She eventually decided to relocate to avoid possible retaliation. The process of moving from her hide required careful planning and patient execution. Elena had to gather her equipment, clear her position of evidence, and move through potentially dangerous territory to reach her next operational area. Each step was planned to minimize exposure and avoid detection by German patrols. Richter tracked Elena's movement using a network of observers positioned throughout the German-controlled sector. His spotters used coded radio communications to report the Soviet sniper's progress as she moved between concealed positions. The information allowed Richter to predict Elena's likely destinations and plan his own positioning accordingly. Elena established her new hide in the basement of a bombed church that provided underground concealment while offering firing positions through gaps in the foundation walls. The location seemed secure and allowed her to observe German positions without exposing herself to counter-sniper fire. Richter had anticipated Elena's choice and positioned himself in a building that offered direct observation of the church basement. He had spent the previous evening preparing his position, using camouflage techniques perfected during 2 years of combat operations. When Elena arrived at her new hide, she was actually entering a carefully prepared killing zone. The German master sniper waited patiently for Elena to settle into her routine and lower her guard. His approach emphasized systematic preparation over hasty action, allowing him to maintain advantages in positioning and intelligence. Elena's exceptional marksmanship would not protect her if Richter could engage on his own terms. Elena spent the morning observing German positions and planning potential shots against enemy targets. She remained unaware that she was being watched by an opponent who possessed skills equal to her own and significantly more combat experience. The psychological pressure of being hunted would soon test Elena's abilities in ways she had never imagined. At approximately 11 o'clock, Elena detected movement in a German position that might represent a sniper target. She focused her telescopic sight on the area and began the process of confirming whether an enemy marksman was present. Her concentration on the potential target prevented her from maintaining adequate observation of her surroundings. Richter seized the opportunity to acquire Elena through his own scope. He could see her clearly as she focused on the decoy position he had established earlier. The range was 400 meters, well within his capabilities, and the target was stationary with good exposure. Richter prepared to take the shot that would eliminate the Soviet sniper who had caused such problems for German forces. Elena's survival instincts suddenly triggered a warning that something was wrong. She felt the sensation of being watched, a primitive alarm that had kept humans alive since the beginning of time. Without fully understanding why, she shifted position just as Richter's bullet passed through the space where her head had been seconds earlier. The near miss shocked Elena into immediate recognition of her danger. She had been detected by an enemy sniper who possessed sufficient skill to nearly kill her with a long-range shot. Elena rolled away from her firing position and sought deeper cover within the church basement, her heart racing from the closest call of her military career. Richter cursed his missed opportunity as he worked his rifle bolt and prepared for a second shot. His bullet had missed by inches, close enough to confirm his target identification, but not close enough to eliminate the threat. The Soviet sniper had demonstrated remarkable survival instincts by moving at the precise moment of greatest danger. Elena now understood that she was engaged in personal combat with another master sniper. The tactical situation had shifted dramatically from hunting ordinary German soldiers to a deadly duel between equally skilled opponents. Her survival would depend on superior fieldcraft, tactical thinking, and the marksmanship abilities she had developed through years of training and combat. The church basement offered temporary protection but limited her ability to observe and engage enemy positions. Elena knew that remaining in her current location would eventually result in death as the German sniper maneuvered to obtain better firing angles. She would need to escape her current position and relocate to terrain that offered better tactical advantages. Richter was simultaneously planning his next moves, using his knowledge of urban warfare to predict Elena's likely actions. He had positioned additional spotters to observe possible escape routes from the church, creating a network that would track her movement and provide targeting information for follow-up shots. Elena's escape from the church required all of her training in fieldcraft and survival. She used smoke from burning buildings to conceal her movement and followed routes that minimized exposure to enemy observation. The process took nearly 2 hours as she carefully worked her way to a new operational area several blocks away from the church. The deadly game between Elena and Richter was entering a new phase that would test both snipers to the limits of their abilities. Each had proven capable of killing the other given the right circumstances, but each also possessed the skills necessary to avoid those circumstances through superior tactics and situational awareness. Elena's legend would grow from this encounter, regardless of its ultimate outcome. She had survived a direct attack by Germany's most accomplished sniper and was now engaged in the kind of personal duel that would be remembered long after the war ended. The next phase of their conflict would determine whether her reputation was built on skill or merely luck. Elena's narrow escape from Richter's trap had fundamentally changed the nature of their conflict. What had begun as routine counter-sniper operations had evolved into a personal duel between two master marksmen, each committed to eliminating the other. The psychological pressure of being actively hunted by an equally skilled opponent would test Elena's mental resilience as much as her technical abilities. Sergeant Reznov noticed immediate changes in Elena's behavior following the near-death experience at the church. She had become hyper-vigilant, constantly scanning their surroundings for signs of enemy observation. Her movements were more cautious, her positioning more defensive, and her entire approach to operations had shifted from hunting to survival. "You are thinking like prey instead of a predator," Reznov observed during one of their planning sessions. "That German sniper has gotten into your head, and that will get you killed if you do not regain your confidence." Elena recognized the truth in Reznov's assessment, but found it difficult to overcome the psychological impact of being outmaneuvered by her opponent. For the first time since beginning combat operations, she had felt truly vulnerable. The experience of having death pass within inches of her head had shaken her confidence in ways that pure marksmanship training could not address. Klaus Richter was experiencing similar psychological pressures from his perspective. The Soviet sniper had demonstrated survival instincts that bordered on the supernatural, moving at precisely the right moment to avoid his carefully aimed shot. Richter had never encountered an opponent who could sense danger with such accuracy, and the experience had introduced an element of uncertainty into his tactical calculations. German intelligence officers were pressuring Richter for quick results, expecting their master sniper to eliminate the Soviet threat within days rather than weeks. The continued presence of an enemy marksman who had proven capable of killing German specialists was affecting morale throughout the sector and disrupting normal military operations. Elena received new orders that would force her back into active operations despite her psychological concerns. Soviet commanders needed intelligence about German defensive preparations in advance of a planned offensive operation. Elena's mission would require her to penetrate deep into enemy territory and observe fortified positions from close range. The assignment represented both an opportunity and a trap. Elena could use the intelligence-gathering mission to hunt for the German sniper who had nearly killed her, but doing so would expose her to additional risks. Richter would undoubtedly anticipate such tactics and prepare countermeasures designed to exploit Elena's desire for revenge. Elena's preparation for the mission involved careful study of the target area and development of multiple contingency plans. She would need to balance her primary objective of gathering intelligence against the secondary goal of eliminating her personal opponent. Success would require exceptional tactical discipline and emotional control. The target area was a heavily fortified German position centered around a concrete bunker complex that controlled several important road junctions. Soviet forces needed detailed information about weapon placements, communication systems, and garrison strength before launching their attack. Elena's observations would help determine the tactics and resources required for successful assault operations. Elena and Reznov began their approach to the target area during the pre-dawn hours, moving through territory that had changed hands multiple times during the siege. The landscape was scarred by artillery craters and littered with the debris of previous battles. Both armies had left behind defensive positions, supply caches, and improvised fortifications. The route required careful navigation around known German observation posts and patrol areas. Elena had studied aerial reconnaissance photographs and intelligence reports, but the tactical situation changed constantly as both sides adjusted their dispositions. What appeared safe on paper might actually be a carefully prepared ambush zone. Elena established her primary observation position in the ruins of a factory that offered excellent sight lines toward the German bunker complex. The location was approximately 800 meters from her target area, near the maximum range for detailed intelligence gathering, but far enough away to provide some protection against detection. Through her telescopic sight, Elena began the systematic process of cataloging German defensive preparations. She observed weapon positions, communication antennas, supply routes, and personnel movements. The information would be crucial for Soviet planners who needed to understand enemy capabilities before committing forces to the attack. The German bunker complex was more sophisticated than intelligence estimates had suggested. Elena counted at least 12 heavy machine gun positions, multiple anti-tank weapons, and what appeared to be a mortar battery positioned to provide defensive fire support. The fortifications showed evidence of professional military engineering rather than hasty field construction. Elena's concentration on intelligence gathering made her temporarily vulnerable to the same kind of surprise attack that Richter had attempted at the church. She was forced to maintain long periods of observation through her scope, reducing her ability to monitor surrounding areas for signs of enemy activity. Richter had indeed anticipated Elena's mission and positioned himself to take advantage of her likely observation positions. He had studied the same aerial photographs available to Soviet planners and identified locations that would offer optimal intelligence gathering opportunities. His counter-sniper operation was designed to exploit Elena's tactical requirements rather than her personal weaknesses. The German master sniper had established himself in a concealed position approximately 1,000 meters from Elena's factory height. The extreme range would challenge his marksmanship abilities, but also provide protection against immediate retaliation if his initial shot missed its target. Richter was betting on his superior rifle and optics to compensate for the difficult shooting conditions. Elena's detailed observation of the bunker complex had revealed several pieces of critical intelligence that would significantly influence Soviet attack planning. She had identified concealed weapons positions that were not visible from other vantage points and observed communication procedures that might be exploited by Soviet electronic warfare units. After 3 hours of observation, Elena prepared to relocate to a secondary position that would allow her to gather additional intelligence from a different angle. The movement would expose her briefly, but was necessary to complete her mission objectives. She carefully planned her route to minimize exposure time and maximize available cover. Richter had been waiting for exactly this kind of movement. His spotters had identified Elena's position hours earlier, and he had been tracking her activities through his own telescopic sight. When Elena rose from her concealed position to begin her relocation, Richter was ready with a carefully aimed shot at nearly 1,000 meters. The extreme range made the shot extraordinarily difficult even for a marksman of Richter's capabilities. He had to account for significant bullet drop, wind drift, and the reduced accuracy inherent in shooting at such distances. The target would be visible for only a few seconds as Elena moved between positions. Elena's survival instincts triggered another warning just as Richter prepared to fire. She altered her movement pattern without conscious thought, ducking lower and changing direction at the moment of greatest danger. Richter's bullet passed overhead by less than a foot, close enough for Elena to hear its passage through the air. The second near miss convinced Elena that her opponent possessed supernatural ability to predict her movements and positioning. She could not continue operating in her normal manner while facing an enemy who seemed capable of anticipating her every action. New tactics would be required to survive the deadly game. Elena immediately sought cover and began planning a counterattack against her persistent opponent. She had observed Richter's muzzle flash and could estimate the approximate location of his firing position. The range was extreme for her rifle, but not impossible given perfect conditions and exceptional shot placement. Richter was simultaneously relocating from his firing position, knowing that Elena would attempt to return fire if she had observed his shot. The German sniper's tactical doctrine emphasized mobility and avoided prolonged engagements that might expose him to counterattack. He would wait for another opportunity rather than risk discovery through hasty action. Elena's analysis of the muzzle flash and bullet trajectory provided enough information to identify Richter's general location. She began a careful stalk toward the enemy position, using all available cover to conceal her movement. The approach would require several hours and expose her to additional risks, but eliminating Richter had become a personal necessity. The hunt through Stalingrad's ruins tested Elena's fieldcraft skills to their limits. She had to move silently across terrain littered with debris while avoiding detection by German patrols and observation posts. Each movement was carefully planned and executed with extreme caution. Richter was conducting his own movement to a new firing position, following routes that would allow him to maintain observation of areas where Elena might attempt to establish new hides. The deadly game had become a complex chess match with each player trying to anticipate their opponent's next moves. Elena's approach to Richter's position revealed that the German sniper had already departed. She found evidence of his previous presence, including spent cartridge cases and disturbed camouflage materials, but no indication of his current location. The discovery confirmed that she faced an opponent who understood tactical movement as well as marksmanship. The abandoned sniper hide provided Elena with valuable intelligence about her opponent's capabilities and methods. She observed that Richter used high-quality equipment, professional camouflage techniques, and systematic approach to position selection. His spent cartridges were from premium ammunition that would provide superior accuracy at extended ranges. Elena established a new observation position that would allow her to watch for Richter's return while maintaining her intelligence-gathering mission. She had to balance competing priorities while operating under the constant threat of enemy attack. The psychological pressure was becoming as challenging as the tactical requirements. Richter had indeed planned to return to the area after allowing sufficient time for Elena to exhaust herself searching for his position. The German master sniper understood that patience was his greatest tactical advantage against an opponent who had been forced into reactive rather than proactive operations. The afternoon brought a new phase of their duel when Elena detected movement in a position that might represent Richter's new hide. Through her scope, she could see subtle signs that suggested human presence, but confirming her opponent's location would require exposing herself to observation and possible attack. Elena decided to use a deception technique learned during her training with Major Zaitsev. She prepared a dummy target using spare equipment and clothing, positioning it to simulate a sniper in a firing position. If Richter was indeed observing her area, he might reveal his location by attempting to engage the false target. The deception worked perfectly. Within 30 minutes, Elena observed a muzzle flash from approximately 700 meters as Richter fired at her dummy position. The German sniper's shot struck the false target center mass, demonstrating both his accuracy and his tactical error in revealing his location. Elena immediately acquired Richter through her telescopic sight and prepared the most important shot of her military career. The range was challenging, but within her demonstrated capabilities, and her opponent was momentarily stationary as he worked his rifle bolt to chamber another round. The crosshairs settled on Richter's center mass as Elena controlled her breathing and applied steady pressure to her trigger. Every aspect of her training and combat experience focused on this single moment when she could eliminate the enemy who had dominated her thoughts for days. Elena's shot struck Richter in the chest, spinning him away from his rifle and out of sight behind his position's protective barriers. She immediately chambered another round and maintained observation of the enemy hide, watching for any sign of movement that might indicate her opponent had survived the attack. After 10 minutes without any movement from Richter's position, Elena cautiously approached to confirm her kill and gather intelligence about her opponent. The approach required extreme caution in case Richter was wounded but still capable of fighting, or if other German soldiers were present in the area. Elena found Klaus Richter dead behind his sniper hide, killed by her single shot through the center of his chest. The German master sniper's equipment was indeed superior to her own, including a rifle scope of exceptional quality and ammunition manufactured to precision tolerances. His personal effects revealed that he had achieved 73 confirmed kills before encountering Elena. The elimination of Richter marked a turning point in Elena's psychological recovery from the trauma of being hunted. She had proven herself capable of defeating Germany's most skilled marksmen through superior tactics and exceptional marksmanship. The victory restored her confidence and established her reputation as the Soviet Union's premier sniper. Elena completed her intelligence-gathering mission and returned to Soviet lines with information that would prove crucial to the upcoming offensive. Her detailed observations of German defensive positions allowed Soviet commanders to plan more effective attack tactics and allocate appropriate resources for the assault. The news of Richter's elimination spread rapidly through both German and Soviet forces. German sniper teams lost confidence in their ability to operate safely in Elena's sector, while Soviet troops gained inspiration from her victory over their most dangerous opponent. Elena's legend was growing beyond simple kill counts to include tactical achievements that affected entire operations. Elena's personal duel with Klaus Richter had tested her abilities in ways that routine sniper operations could never approach. She had learned to function under extreme psychological pressure while maintaining the technical precision required for success at extended ranges. These lessons would prove invaluable as her reputation attracted increasingly dangerous assignments.